Thank you, Andrew. Thank you for the kind words. So it's not a sales presentation, it's more about education. I am Lars from DMark Advisor. I am sales director, so I'm working in sales. But to sell our product, we first need to educate people about what DMark as an open security protocol does. But my main goal is, I think, or at least my goal as a sales director is to grow the business. And to grow the business, I need to prevent people from walking away. So I need to prevent churn. And I think that's a goal that we all have in common. So not only from a sales perspective, but every organization, every business wants to grow. You want to grow your engagement with your emails. You want to grow the communication. You want to grow brand awareness. That's actually the main goal of every organization. If you then look at the other things that the other thing that we all have in common is that we work with domains. So although you don't even know, a domain, we use it for our website, so it's the path to the website. And although if you never registered the domain, then you use it to send out email. So Lars at dmarkadvisor.com. Everyone who sends email on behalf of a domain. That's a really important thing to know. And then we all use email. So everyone is talking here in sessions about email. It's still the number one communication channel that every business uses. So it's something we do every day. So that's directly the problem, because as everyone is using it, it's actually the best thing to target. Because if you trust a brand, you can, and you expect an email from them, you will trust that email. The problem with email is that email is broken by design. So, and what I want to say is that you can easily send email on behalf of someone else. And I will just show you an example. So here, for example, Pathé, that's the competitor of Kinopolis. They were they became victim of a huge phishing attack, business email compromise attack, where an email was sent from the CEO to a financial guy. In the top, so when you open an email, when my mom was not technical at all, she's the average email user, when she receives an email, she just looks at the name and the email address. And in this case, the email address is correct. So for her, it should be legitimate, right? That's not the case, because when email was invented, a long time ago, at least in internet terms, it was invented on a closed network to send a message from a person to a person. Not keeping in mind that it could be used on such a large scale as it is used nowadays. So it was not security by design. And now, do you still hear me? Yeah. Now we have to fix that problem. So during the time, let me check. Yeah, at the end, you can better send bad content yourself than sent by a cybercriminal. If you register a domain, make sure it's protected, because by default, everyone can use it. It's really easy. You don't have to hack someone's email, because you can easily do that by filling in a web form. So go to Google and you can find a lot of tools where you can spoof other companies. So make sure you protect your domain, because it's your main business. It's your most important business asset that you own. Your website is connected to it, your email, and it's your online presence. If we then look at those examples where it's all about. So, for example, Pathé, they lost 19 million euros because a fake email was sent from the CEO to the financial guy with, hey, can you please transfer 90 million euros? Normally, I should call someone to verify if it's real, but they didn't. Then we have an example of Lazio Roma. So when Stefan de Vrij, a Dutch football player, moved from Feyenoord to Lazio, an email was sent from Feyenoord.hr to Lazio, asking them to send the second part of the transfer sum, and they did it. So they lost 2 million. That's already some brand reputation, because if I was another football club doing business with Feyenoord again, yeah, I should be a bit doubtful. And then the last example, and that's where the real reputational damage comes around the corner, is the Sony case. Using phishing, so via phishing, a lot of internal emails, came in the news, where they spoke bad about other companies. It was big news, and it caused huge reputational damage. If you look at the costs, so the direct cost of a phishing attack are mostly, that's the monetary loss. Then you have the remediation costs. That is actually the costs for fixing it. And then you have the reputational costs. And if you check this survey that was done in 2021, then you can see that the reputation cost was even 5 times higher than the direct costs of a phishing attack. So if you don't protect your domain and everyone can send email on behalf of that domain and gain trust, this can happen. But don't worry, there were some genius people who invented open security protocols during the time. So I think back in 2004 it was, they started with SPF. Then DKIM came. They both didn't prevent spoofing. So DMARC was invented. As you can see here, you have DMARC, SPF, and DKIM. DMARC was the last one, and it's actually built on top of SPF and DKIM. I won't go too much into detail. I won't make it too technical, because normally DNS is not that sexy. But SPF and DKIM were the oldest. DMARC was built on top of it. And if I want to explain you how it works, then I can do it in this way. So you have brands. Everyone here in the room is a brand. You all registered domains. Now, I now use the example of Kinopolis. So for example, Kinopolis, they own domains. And by default, everyone can send email on behalf of those domains. Be aware that you probably have domains where you send email with, and other domains just registered for marketing purposes or protective purposes. And you make use of the DNS. So only you as a domain owner should have access to the DNS, and only you can tell the internet who is allowed to send email. Then you have the senders. So for example, Microsoft and 365 and Google are the office mails. So you can use it to send out office mail. And we have seen Spotler here and some others. So for example, Salesforce, SendGrid, HubSpot. You use a lot of third-party senders to send out email. So for example, a web form on the website could be filled in, send an email on behalf of your domain name, so you somewhere use it. And at the moment, so by default, cybercriminals can send on behalf of your domain. So they can send on behalf of, for example, marketing@kinopolis.nl, marketing@kinopolis.com, etc., etc. And you send email to the receivers. Business to business, it's Microsoft and Google, and of course some more. And B2C, you have Yahoo, Einunijns, Web.de, KPN, ProtonMail, Gmail, etc. With DMARC, you get back reports from the receivers who are telling you who's sending email on behalf of your domain. So they receive an email from kinopolis.nl. It goes through Microsoft 365. It ends up at Yahoo, and Yahoo sends back an email, so a report to Kinopolis with information about the sender, so Microsoft 365. So you get insight with the reports, you get insight into who or what is using your domain. So not only legitimate email, but also the spoofed emails. With SPF and DKIM, you make the good one easy to identify. So as a domain owner, you can tell the internet who is allowed to send on your behalf. And because of that, you can also show the receivers who to block. So after you fully implement the DMARC to the strictest policy, to enforcement, you can block all the bad stuff. It will never end up in the inbox of the receiver. So you have a few benefits So first of all, the security benefit. If you register a domain, make sure it's protected because it's not protected by default. Visibility, that's what you don't have at the moment without DMARC. So without DMARC, you only know who you're using based on people in your company, but people move away from your company, other people will pick it up. So what we see now is that there's a huge difference between what people think they use and what they really use. So with DMARC, you get the full insight into what you're using, and that makes it easier to implement it and also to deliver your emails. And then the deliverability part. So DMARC, SPF, and DKIM are actually rules set by the internet to prevent spoofing. And as long as you follow those rules, then your emails will most likely be delivered in the inbox. So as long as you follow those rules and you set up SPF and DKIM correctly, then your deliverability will improve. And you give a bit of an identity to your emails, but with DMARC you protect, so you prevent bad stuff coming into the inbox of my mom, for example, but for her it's not visible. And everything here, it's just DNS, so it's not sexy. So let's make it sexy. I will do this after the slide. I did a check on all the attendees from the Martech Fest and their domains. And we saw that almost 70% of the people here, online and in the other space, are not fully protected. So at the moment, for 70% of you, we can easily send an email to one of your customers with, "Hey guys, can you please transfer money?" It's better than what we see in average, because I think the average adoption of DMARC is not even 10%. So it's better, but still 70% could be victim. I checked 274 brands. So I went to everyone's LinkedIn profile, possibly you saw it, checked the domain, put it in the domain checker, and found out about this. But let's make it sexy. So sexy, tasty. Let's make it visible. There's a new standard called Beamy, where you can show your logo to make it visible to my mom. So you did all the hard work with implementing DMARC. And now you're also, it's also possible to show your logo with every email, so that you stand out in the inbox, because normally you see initials, and now you can show your logo. So some benefits: consistent branding in the inbox, trust and credibility, because if my mom now receives, for example, an email from PostNL, one of my colleagues spoke with PostNL 2 days ago about Beamy, then she directly know, okay, I can trust that email, so I can open it. And it increases engagement. They did some research. I know that Entrust did some research, one of our competitors, and also PostNL during the last presentation, and you saw a huge difference. There are only a few requirements. One of them is that you fully implement the DMARC, not just the DMARC record, but you fully implement it. I won't go into details, but if you have any questions, you can come to the booth and I will explain you everything in detail, or Mo or Aileen. And you need a VMC certificate that actually confirms that the logo that is used for Beamy is a registered trademark, which is owned by your legal entity. Because otherwise you create a new problem called logo spoofing. That's not what we want, so therefore the VMC. And you need a DNS record, so Beamy record. Now, we also checked how many of the people here are actually already Beamy ready, and that's 45%. I haven't checked who actually implemented Beamy, because that took too long. But 45%. So 45% of the people can already implement it. So I would say at least discuss it internally, because it can make a huge difference. And then some tips based on the presentation, especially because from a marketing perspective, I see people don't caring about their brand, or at least not about the security part. My job as a sales is growing the business, preventing churn. As a marketer, I would say growing your brand awareness and also preventing people from walking away. So when you care about your brand, please protect it. When registering a domain, think about the risk. So as soon as you register a domain, make sure a DMARC record is published. Make sure all senders that you use are easy to identify. So set up SPF and DKIM. And team up, that's almost the most difficult part, I think, because there's a huge difference between IT people and marketing people. Team up with your IT department or security team as you have a shared goal. Preventing people from walking away from your brand. That's it. Thanks for listening.